Usually, when you talk about cleaning up your life, you focus on the physical stuff. Like
Mhm.
you tackle that one closet in the hallway where literally everything just gets shoved.
Yeah, the junk closet, or, you finally clear out the garage.
Exactly. And you can physically see the mess, right? And you visibly see the progress when you finally throw it all in a trash bag.
Right, it's highly visible. I mean, if there are boxes all over the floor, you have clutter. If the floor is clear, well, you've succeeded.
But when you turn that lens inward, toward the mind and the spirit, the clutter is completely invisible. Well, the mess is woven into how we think, how we talk, and just how we view the world.
It's a much more difficult landscape to navigate.
It really is. You're looking at a landscape that is incredibly murky. And that murky landscape is our mission for today's deep dive. We're basically pulling open the doors of your internal closet to look at a really fascinating text.
Yeah, this is from January 2025 by an author named Xu Feng.
Right. And it introduces a concept that is honestly both incredibly simple and like completely overwhelming. He calls it soul garbage.
Yeah, and the central premise the author presents here is, well, it's incredibly bold.
How so?
The framework suggests that all human conflict, like all of our worry and literally all of our suffering throughout history, stems entirely from this accumulation of garbage in our souls.
Wow. All of it.
Yeah, all of it. And the text doesn't just leave it as this, vague philosophical idea. It actually categorizes all of this mental and emotional baggage into 8 distinct types.
8 types. Okay, so before we break down exactly what those 8 types are, just a quick note for you listening. This text touches on a massive range of ideologies.
Oh, definitely. It covers a lot of ground.
Yeah, like political catchphrases, deeply held cultural norms. I mean, it pulls from all over the map. So our goal today isn't to endorse or, condemn any of these ideas or take any sides whatsoever.
Right. We're remaining completely neutral here.
Exactly. We are simply exploring how the original author categorizes these specific concepts as garbage that holds humanity back. So we're just looking through his specific analytical lens today.
And the architecture of this framework is, it's what makes it so compelling. Because it doesn't start with complex philosophy.
Right, it starts way earlier than that.
Exactly. It starts at the very beginning of the human experience, with the biological foundation we are all born with.
We're baseline.
Yeah, the very first category is what Xu Feng calls primitive soul garbage.
And this is where the author draws a line between what we're innately born with and what society hands to us later on.
Yes. The primitive category includes these psychological traits and behaviors that we actually share with wild animals and, domestic livestock.
And even plants, apparently.
Right, according to the text, even plants.
Which, sounds strange until you look at the specific traits listed, because the text points to things like jealousy, fighting, stealing, robbery, noise, showing off, fear, and the desire for domination.
Yeah, and I think we can all see the animal comparison pretty easily there.
Oh, for sure. Animals fight for territory, they steal food, they show off to attract mates. All of that makes sense. But, plants.
Well, think about a dense forest, right? Plants are absolutely engaged in this silent, ruthless war for domination.
Really? A war?
Oh, absolutely. They strangle each other for sunlight. Their roots literally secrete chemicals to kill off competing vegetation.
Oh, wow. So it's brutal.
It is pure, unfiltered survival mechanism. They are dominating their space out of biological necessity.
I actually like to think of this as a device's default operating system.
Oh, that's a good way to look at it.
Right. Like when you buy a new phone, there's this base level code that just makes the hardware run way before you personalized anything or downloaded any apps. It's raw.
Yeah, it's just the basic survival programming.
Exactly. You arrive in the world with this baseline of survival instincts, fear, fighting, dominating your space before any societal updates are installed.
But the problem, according to the framework, is that human beings don't stay in default mode. Society immediately begins installing its own updates to either override or channel those primitive instincts.
The software update.
Yes, the software updates. And this brings us to the next phase of the ego's evolution, which the author groups into habitual and cultural soul garbage.
Okay, so how does this type of garbage get installed?
Well, it's instilled through centuries of really subtle influence within a specific ethnic group or culture. It is the programming we receive from birth about, how to be a successful human within our specific society.
And the examples the text gives here are so fascinating because they're things we usually don't ever question.
Right, they're just accepted as facts of life.
Yeah. The author points to proverbs that cultures pass down as this like profound wisdom. For example, the saying, books hold golden houses in charming faces.
Mhm.
Or another one must endure hardships to achieve greatness. And even just basic societal expectations like men must marry and women must wed.
And if you really notice how these proverbs function, they subtly create a highly transactional script for a human life.
What do you mean by transactional?
Well, studying, for example. In that proverb, studying isn't encouraged for the sheer joy of learning or expanding your mind. It is a strategic move to get wealth.
The golden house.
Exactly, the golden house and a charming spouse. Life just becomes a formula that you have to execute.
It goes way beyond proverbs, right? The text dives into broader ideologies that are also categorized as garbage.
Yeah, much broader.
Things like the 36 Stratagems, which is a classic text on strategy and deception, or concepts like thick skinned and ruthless success, the general success ideology, and even the idea of equalizing wealth.
And there's also that somewhat bleak saying it mentions, humans die for wealth as birds die for food.
Right. And the author is diagnosing how these inherited ideologies drive a very specific set of exhausting behaviors. Like the text lists comparison, an obsession with saving face, flattering and ingratiating yourself to others.
Bribery, corruption.
Yeah, bribery, corruption. And notably, the intense pursuit of bringing glory to one's ancestors.
Oh, right.
Okay, wait, I have to stop and push back on this a little bit. Because grouping all of these together feels, I don't know, a bit jarring to me.
How so?
Well, I completely understand why bribery, corruption, and, like, ruthless deception are on a list of soul garbage, obviously. But things like enduring hardships to achieve greatness or bringing glory to your ancestors.
Right, the virtues.
Yeah, I mean, in a lot of cultures, those are the ultimate virtues. They're the defining traits of a good, honorable person. So how can the author possibly label them as soul garbage?
It's a great question, and it really requires a massive shift in perspective to understand the author's angle here.
Okay, shifting my perspective, walk me through it.
Within the context of this framework, these ingrained cultural scripts are considered garbage because of the psychological mechanics they force onto the individual.
The mechanics.
Yes, they dictate behavior in a way that guarantees constant pressure and conflict.
But how does bringing glory to your ancestors guarantee conflict? That sounds like a positive thing.
Because if your entire life is driven by the need to save face or elevate your family name above others, your actions are no longer free. You are acting out a centuries-old script written by people who are already dead.
Oh, wow, okay.
And you're competing in a social hierarchy that inherently requires someone else to be lower than you. It creates an environment where love and worth are conditional, right? They're based entirely on your performance in this cultural game.
I get it now. It's like you're carrying a heavy backpack full of rocks, but because everyone else in your culture is carrying the exact same backpack, you just call it good posture.
That is a perfect analogy, yes.
You don't realize it's actually crushing your spine because it's completely normalized.
Exactly. You don't recognize it as baggage at all. You recognize it as your core identity. You actively defend the rocks.
Wow. Okay, so if cultural and habitual garbage are the societal software we accept without question, the next evolution the author outlines targets how we actively observe the world, right?
Yes, we move from cultural scripts to intellectual glitches.
Right, with cognitive and regional garbage.
So, cognitive garbage arises from the traps of limited perception. These are understandings that eventually form really firm beliefs.
Right.
They might seem entirely logical to the person holding them, but they are ultimately flawed or disastrously narrow.
And the author gives some really evocative examples here, from the historically inaccurate, like thinking the sun revolves around the earth,
Right, a classic.
to the deeply cynical, like believing only interests are eternal, not emotions.
And the text also touches on some heavy existential beliefs, too. Viewing human death as final extinction, assuming that humans are the absolute pinnacle of all life, or concluding that life itself has no inherent meaning.
It even gets into socioeconomic and political beliefs, which is interesting. Upholding the absolute inviolability of private property is listed as cognitive garbage.
Mm-hmm.
So is the belief that utopian ideals inevitably lead to suffering. I picture this like looking at the vast, complex universe through a tiny peephole in a door.
I like that.
You see a tiny sliver of reality, and instead of just admitting you can't see the whole room, your brain just fills in the rest of the blanks with absolute certainty.
That people analogy captures the mechanism perfectly. Cognitive garbage is fundamentally the arrogance of assuming our limited intellectual view is the universal truth. We confuse our model of reality with reality itself.
Right. And that intellectual narrowing maps perfectly onto physical narrowing, which brings us to regional soul garbage.
Yes, exactly.
So if cognitive garbage is shaped by our minds, regional garbage is basically shaped by where our feet happen to be planted.
That's a great way to put it. And the text starts with examples of regional garbage that seem like, innocent ignorance.
Like what?
For instance, assuming there are always 4 distinct seasons in a year just because you happen to live in a temperate climate. Or, conversely, believing a year only has 2 seasons, dry and rainy.
Right. Harmless assumptions based on geography. But then the author takes a massive leap from those harmless weather assumptions to deep systemic prejudice.
Yes, a very intentional leap.
Because the text lists thinking Anglo-Saxons are superior, or using derogatory labels like sick men of Asia, and even just the habitual use of words like outsiders or foreigners is classified as regional soul garbage.
And like I said, the leap from weather to xenophobia is entirely intentional here. The author is laying out a direct causal link.
Okay, what's the link?
The framework suggests that both the innocent assumption about seasons and the dangerous regional prejudice stem from the exact same psychological root: a mind narrowed by physical borders.
Huh.
When you let your geography define what is normal, anyone outside that geography automatically becomes an anomaly.
Which means the second you draw a line on a map to define your region, you inherently start drawing lines between yourself and other human beings.
Precisely. And that boundary drawing behavior leads directly into the next phase of the text: group affiliation garbage.
Okay, so we take those geographic borders and we internalize them. We start creating factions based on faith, culture, the economy, or wealth.
Right.
And the list of labels the author provides here reads like a summary of how modern society completely functions.
It really does. The text points to terms like Western imperialists, hegemonism, working class, white-collar class, aristocracy, and racial discrimination. It also includes demographic labels like the underprivileged, the poor, city folk, and country folk.
Wait, hold on. Working class and white collar. I mean, we use those labels for literally everything.
We do.
We use them to form our political identities, to decide who we socialize with, to market products, to analyze the economy. They are like structural pillars of how we organize the world.
And the danger of those structural pillars, according to Schiffing, is the inherent exclusion they demand.
Exclusion.
Yes. Any group identity, literally any label that puts you in a bucket, automatically puts someone else in a different bucket. It creates an inescapable us versus them paradigm.
Right, because you have to defend your bucket.
Exactly. As long as you belong to a group, your loyalty to that group will always supersede your connection to humanity as a whole.
Wow. But the author doesn't just stop at sweeping societal groups or class warfare.
No, it goes much deeper.
Yeah, the framework zooms in past the tribe, past the community, all the way down to the absolute most granular level of the human experience. And this is self-centered garbage.
And this is where the framework becomes intensely pervasive. Self-centered garbage encompasses any thought, word, or deed that's rooted in the ego.
The ego.
Right. The examples provided are phrases we use hundreds of times a day without a second thought. Things like, this is mine, this is my home, this is my country.
And it extends to our most intimate relationships, too. This is my wife, this is my husband, this is my child.
The ego basically claims ownership over everything it interacts with.
Okay, we need to grapple with this because I am really struggling with that last example.
I thought you might.
I mean, I'm looking at biological reality here. Claiming someone as my child is a genetic fact. I am legally and biologically responsible for them.
Yes.
So how on earth can acknowledging your own kid be classified as a form of garbage that ruins the soul?
It is arguably the most radical stance in the entire text, and it really challenges the very core of human attachment. But if you follow the author's logic, it remains entirely consistent.
I'm trying to follow.
The issue is not the act of caring for a child. The issue is the possessive pronoun, my.
So the garbage is the ownership part.
Yes.
Yes.
When you say my child, you are projecting ownership onto an entirely separate human being. You're viewing them through the possessive lens of your own ego.
Right.
It creates a hard boundary between me and mine and everyone else. If it is your child, you will inherently prioritize their comfort, their success, and their survival over someone else's child.
Well, yeah, but biology demands that for survival. If I don't prioritize my kid, they don't eat.
From an evolutionary standpoint, absolutely. You are 100% correct. But remember, this text is diagnosing the soul, not mammalian survival.
Oh, right. Okay.
From the perspective of the soul, that self-interested lens fractures universal harmony. The ego's constant need to define what is mine creates a world of hoarding, defense, and endless anxiety.
Because you're constantly protecting what's yours.
Yes, you spend your entire life guarding your territory, your family, your reputation, and your belongings.
Man, that is incredibly demanding. The author isn't just asking us to be less selfish. They are asking us to completely dissolve the concept of the self.
It really requires a fundamental restructuring of how we relate to existence. It asks you to interact with a child not as yours, but simply as a life you have the privilege of nurturing.
So if loving your family through the lens of ownership is considered self-centered garbage, what does the author think about our highest, most sacred ideals?
You mean the things we hold up as proof that we are actually good, moral people? Well, that brings us to the final and perhaps the most complex category in the entire framework: belief-based garbage.
And this arises from our views on life, our deepest values, our morality, and our grandest worldviews.
Right. Some of the examples the text provides here make immediate sense when we think about the causes of historical conflict.
Like what?
Things like holy wars or labeling other people as heretics, cults, or cultists. Those beliefs clearly create division, persecution, and massive violence.
Right. No argument there.
Yeah,
But then it takes another massive swerve.
it does.
The author includes beliefs that most of us would consider beautiful, progressive, or, deeply spiritual. Like the text explicitly lists the phrase, all beings are created equal, as a form of belief-based soul garbage.
Mm-hmm.
It also lists the theological assumption that everything was created by the greatest creator, or even the philosophical belief that there is only one truth.
This is where the framework reaches its ultimate filter. The really fascinating provocation here is that holding any rigid belief, even a noble, inclusive one like all beings are created equal, creates an ideological barrier in the mind.
I'm still trying to sort of wrap my head around equality being garbage.
Yeah.
How does believing in equality harm the soul?
Because the danger lies in the rigidity of the belief itself, rather than just the content.
Okay.
If you hold any concept as absolute dogma, you are no longer observing reality as it unfolds. You are filtering reality through a predetermined concept. The assumption that there is only one truth traps the mind.
Because it stops being a lived experience and just becomes a rule you have to police.
Exactly. Beliefs, even noble ones, function as a rigid framework. They prevent fluidity, they prevent acceptance of the unpredictable nature of life, and they block a direct, unmediated experience of the universe.
Ah.
They become intellectual property that you feel you have to aggressively defend against anyone who thinks differently.
This is really staggering when you lay it all out. I mean, from our primitive animal instincts for dominance, to the cultural proverbs we repeat to our kids, to the geographic peoples we look through, the socioeconomic labels we wear, the families we claim ownership over,
It covers everything.
all the way up to our most sacred concepts of equality and singular truth. The author is literally systematically dismantling every single psychological structure human beings use to make sense of the world.
Which leads directly to the sweeping, really uncompromising conclusion of Xu text.
Right. The author states that throughout all of human history, all conflicts, all contradictions, all of our worries and all of our suffering have been caused by this accumulated soul garbage.
And the text leaves zero room for negotiation on this.
Zero.
If this soul garbage is not completely cleared, humanity simply cannot achieve peace and tranquility.
Furthermore, the text insists that this applies universally. No individual can truly enjoy a good life if they are carrying this garbage.
No one is exempt.
Right. It specifically notes that not emperors, not billionaires, not national heroes, nor globally renowned figures can escape this suffering. Wealth, power, and historical prestige offer absolutely no protection against the misery generated by the ego.
The text warns that without cleaning out this soul garbage, troubles and pain will inevitably persist, and regrets and fears will remain completely unavoidable.
It really doesn't matter how much you insulate yourself externally, does it?
Not at all.
You can build the most secure, beautiful, expensive mansion in the world, but if the foundation is made of rotting garbage, the house is still going to smell, and it is eventually going to collapse from the inside.
The overarching insight of this framework is that true peace is not something you can build, acquire, or inherit.
What is it then?
It is something that is only revealed when you have completely emptied yourself of all this primitive, cultural, cognitive, and ego-driven clutter.
Well, you listening, if you tuned in today hoping for a light, breezy checklist for morning productivity, we have officially dragged you into the absolute deep end of this philosophical pool.
We really have.
We've looked at Schwifeng's 8 categories, from the survival instincts we share with a forest of plants, to the transactional software our society installs in us, to the intellectual blinders we wear, right down to the possessive grip of mind and the rigid dogma of our highest beliefs.
It's a lot to process.
It is.
Yeah.
This framework doesn't ask for minor adjustments. It asks us to question literally every single thing we hold on to.
And it leaves us with a profound paradox to consider.
Okay.
If you actually manage to completely empty yourself of all 8 types of this soul garbage, if you stripped away your culture, your sense of personal ownership over your life, your group identities, and even your core beliefs about truth and equality,
Right.
what exactly is left of the human soul to experience the world?
Yeah.
Does achieving this level of perfect peace mean erasing the very things that make us human?
That is the ultimate question to leave you with today. Maybe the final goal isn't just staring into an empty closet, but figuring out who you actually are when all the familiar boxes are finally gone. Thank you so much for exploring this incredibly deep, murky, diagnostic landscape with us. Keep questioning your assumptions, keep examining your own internal clutter, and we will catch you on the next deep dive.